Welcome back, everyone. So we're now going to go into health problems in the realm, particularly also with HIV/AIDS, which of course has impacted a lot of people there within sub-Saharan Africa. So let me go over some of these terms here, okay? Really health terms. I know it says death rates, but we're going to go over some health terms here. Epidemiology is the study of diseases and also like why they occur and how to find cures for diseases. So like somebody at Johns Hopkins working, looking at, say, why the Black Death came about, and then also finding cures for the Black Death. Okay, well, the Black Death is not a killer as it was, say, back in the 1300s. Okay, pathogens are microscopic organisms that cause diseases, so viruses and bacteria. That right there is the definitions of pathogens. Life expectancy, this means what is the average age somebody has to live from the time of birth. So we say somebody, the life expectancy is 80, that means that most likely they ain't child born in that area or country will have the chance to live to be on average 80 years old. Infectious diseases are diseases that spread by touch or contact, so for the flu, smallpox. And then degenerative diseases are ones that impact your tissues and within your body. You can't spread from one another, but it goes after your tissue and usually affects you as you get older. So for instance, like cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease, etc. But these diseases can still impact you when you're younger. I'm just saying for the most part it affects adults and not as many kids. Although kids can still get cancer, heart problems, etc. Okay. Now, for infectious diseases, they are not common in post-industrial countries. Okay. You have to think it from this perspective. Okay. Why are they not common? You have to think in terms of, sanitation. You have to think in terms of, is there plumbing? Are these diseases usually cured when compared to, say, countries like the United States, United Kingdom, Japan, and even China now? Is there sanitation? Do they have the medical equipment to go after these diseases? That's why they're not as common in post-industrial countries for the most part. They're more common in pre- and beginning industrial countries, say like Ghana, Nigeria, the Congo, etc., because, again, they don't have access to the technology, and, again, what are their sanitation? So you have to think of it from those perspectives for infectious diseases, okay? Now, degenerative diseases are not prevalent in sub-Saharan Africa, so cancer rates, diabetes rates, and even blood diseases are not that common in Africa, okay? If you actually look at that, cancer rates are relatively low, diabetes rates are low, Alzheimer's rates are low, etc. That's because in sub-Saharan Africa, you have a lower life expectancy. Remember, degenerative diseases affect as you age. Now, I'm not saying that, children don't get cancer and children don't get diabetes. They do, but it mostly, for the most part, affects you as you age. Same thing with Alzheimer's and MS and that. Now, again, it's not saying that kids can't get MS or Lou Gehrig's disease, but for the most part, it affects you as you age, okay? And again, that's why they are not that prevalent, okay, within sub-Saharan Africa, because, again, it is a lower life expectancy. Clearly, you look at this map here, sub-Saharan Africa has the lowest life expectancy rates in the globalized world. Okay, the highest overall is Japan, Western Europe, and Australia. Okay, we're not the top in the world. Okay, but Western Europe, Canada, Japan, and Australia have the highest overall. So, if you look at question number 4, okay, right here, question number 4, I want you to now think about why life expectancy in sub-Saharan Africa is relatively low, okay? I want you to come up with 2 factors, again, that's two factors, as to why it's low. Think in terms of development. Do they have sanitation? Are there medical advances in sub-Saharan Africa? Is the quality of life high yet when compared to, say, Japan or Australia? Okay, so I want you to think about that, okay? And then the same thing for the second part. I know it's not up here. See where it's asking about Australia? Australia, too, has a very high life expectancy. So, think in terms. Does Australia have access to medical care? Is it developed? Is there sanitation? Etc. Okay, you have to think of those aspects right there, okay? So again, looking at the question, Sub-Saharan Africa does have low life expectancy. Australia is high. So make sure that you do answer that, okay? So again, think of medical advancements, development, including industrialization or post-industrialization, and medical knowledge, okay? So make sure you answer that. So pause the video here to answer the question. Okay, so welcome back from answering the question. HIV/AIDS, okay? There is a difference between them. A lot of people like to put them together, but they are different, okay? HIV, okay, means that the virus has entered one's system but not developed in the full-blown AIDS, okay? What it is, it's a virus that attacks your immune system. It attacks the white cells and T cells that go after, say, viruses like the common cold, bacterial infections, even the flu. If you have the HIV virus, okay, it starts to attack. It starts to go after them. Now, the good news is in industrial and post-industrial countries like the United States, Japan, Australia, most of Europe, okay, etc., you can slow it down by taking drugs. That's why people that have the HIV virus take like 20 pills in a day. A good example would be, again, this is, during my time, okay, Magic Johnson, who was a good basketball player at Michigan State and played for the Lakers. I remember the big news when he contracted the virus and he had to retire immediately. That's why he became a spokesperson. Now, it has not developed into full-blown AIDS, and he's had it now for over, 20, close to 30 years, okay? It's just, I still remember the day like it was yesterday when he said he had it, okay? So, he has to take a lot of pills in a day, and it slows it down from the virus actually, killing off the immune system. So, think of it as is that the virus is in his system, he has the virus, but it's slowing it down from attacking it. So what it does is the virus is in there, but it's going very, very, very slow. So think of it as, when there's a car driving, you put something down to slow it down, that would be the way. You're not stopping it, but you're slowing it down. AIDS is the disease itself. That is when your immune system is gone, the white blood cells are gone, and what's very scary about full-blown AIDS is that even common colds, flus can kill you. Okay, that's what's very scary about it. You have no immune system. So think of it as is that you're going out, okay, into a sword fight with no body armor. Okay, so that would be the best comparison. It's very scary, okay, when somebody has full-blown AIDS. What you can clearly see here is that sub-Saharan Africa has the highest rates of infection than any other country in the world, okay, particularly in southern sub-Saharan Africa. South Africa has the most cases. Swaziland, okay, which is a landlocked country there, okay, they actually have, and this is the number, it's very staggering, 30% of the adult population in Swaziland is infected with HIV/AIDS. So that's 3 out of 10, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty high. Okay, so again, it is a big problem there in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, I've already answered this, but I do want to go over this right here. So, what started HIV/AIDS? Well, it started from a monkey species that had human contact, and that's what led to the spread since the late 80s, okay? I mean, I remember as a kid when it actually, came about, okay? Growing up in part of the 80s there was no HIV/AIDS. You never would have thought of it, okay? But now, everywhere tests for it, including even in plasma centers, okay? And you're probably thinking, well, why did it not spread? Well, the problem is because the governments, South Africa, Swaziland, Botswana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, denied the problem. They thought, it was just going to go away. But it didn't, okay? And that's why disease spread. Also, too, promiscuity is dominant there throughout parts of sub-Saharan Africa. It's actually been done in, geographic studies from AAG, from prominent, human geographers. So that's another reason why it spread, okay? And again, you can clearly see sub-Saharan Africa has the highest rates in the world. But what's interesting, look at North Africa and the Middle East. Look at Egypt, Libya, okay, Morocco, okay, and Algeria. They have actually some of the lowest rates, even lower than here in the United States, okay? That's quite interesting. You have it lower there in North Africa and the Middle East. There is a reason for that, okay? Now, you have to look at it from a physical geographic aspect and a cultural aspect, okay? So I'm going to explain how. First, the physical geography. It's predominantly a desert out here, okay? If you live in a desert-like climate, have minimal impact with people, okay, how's it going to spread? Okay, it's kind of like that with any disease. If you have minimal contact with people, okay, desert climate, okay, it's mainly nomads there, North Africa, Middle East, exceptions like in Cairo and in Benghazi, okay, and in parts of the coast of Tunisia, Morocco. But if you have minimal contact, how are you going to spread disease? So that's one. That's why, again, it's lower than even here in the United States. But also a cultural aspect too, okay? Promiscuity is not, is welcomed in these countries at all, and it's frowned upon, okay? Mainly due to Islam being the dominant religion and its dominant people's lives. So it's very frowned upon, okay? That's another reason why it has not spread, because of that cultural aspect of it's being frowned upon. So again, that's why you don't have high rates, okay, within this part of the world when compared to others, okay? And also drug use, this is often overlooked, but this is another thing too. Drug use, like, needles with heroin in that, is also frowned upon when compared to, say, other areas of the world, okay? So that's another aspect to take into consideration, okay? And again, what's interesting is China also has a very low rate as well too. So again, very, very interesting there. So we're going to go ahead and go to regions of the world now. I'm not going to talk about every single country. It's ones that you need for your exam. Okay, so I'm going to go into it. And again, if you have any questions, just let me know. I do want to show you how it's divided up. Okay, I'd say that again, every country below this line right here belongs to sub-Saharan Africa, with the exception of Somalia. It's divided based upon religion and climate, as we talked about before. Those are the dominating factors, okay? Just remember, predominantly Islam up here, predominantly Christian in this part of the world, okay? So for Southern Africa, again, here are the countries, okay? I want to briefly talk about South Africa, because, again, this is actually where Western European contact happened, okay? Because, again, the Portuguese did go to the Cape of Good Hope right here, okay? Because, again, Cape Town is the gateway. Again, Western Europeans had to sail around Africa before the Suez Canal, okay? So that's why it was the contact point or stopping point. The Dutch were the first to settle it, okay? A lot of people assume it's the British. It actually was the Dutch, okay? Now, they were successful. They actually took advantage of a lot of the natural resources, and in fact made their own language. And then over time, their descendants became the Afrikaners, okay? The United Kingdom didn't become involved till the 19th century, and then they fought the Dutch for control, and then eventually the Zulus, okay? You might have heard of the Zulu Wars, okay? So again, be sure to click on this video to watch it, okay? But after you had the Zulu Wars there fought between the British and, of course, the Zulus, okay? You did have skirmishes beforehand with the Dutch, but later on, the Afrikaners fought the British once again there, okay, in the 1880s and again in 1899, and what happened is they lost, and then the British gained full control of the country. After World War II, it was given control of the Afrikaners, but that led to apartheid, unfortunately. Okay, and Daniel Malone, who's right here, was the leader of the National Party of South Africa, which was an ultra-nationalist party. Remember, not regular nationalism, ultra-nationalist party that led to apartheid. Apartheid is synonymous with Jim Crow here in the United States, where border states and southern states, had segregation between blacks and whites, okay? The same thing happened too in South Africa. You had people separated that were black, whites, Asian, and also mixed race. Those were the 4 races there in South Africa. Now, Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa in 1994, when everybody gained equal voting rights with the African National Congress Party winning. Okay, first time everybody had equal voting rights, and that's why April 27th is a significant day. He was a peaceful man. A lot of people consider him to be a centripetal force that united. But unfortunately, after his death, and again, I do remember watching, the funerals there. It was all over the world when he died. You then had Julius Malema come to power. He has the EFF party, and he has said kill the Boer, which is derogatory. It means kill the whites. Okay, so he is a racist. He is actually targeted, but at the same time, you also have the ultranationalist Afrikaners saying kill anybody who's not white. Okay, so again, you have 2 extremist factions here, 2 ultranationalist groups, the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, and the extreme Afrikaner Party fighting each other. So that's why South Africa continues to have problems. In human geography, we talk more about this and if the problem can be solved, okay? I just want to say for Zambia and Zimbabwe, the biggest problem they have right now is being landlocked. Similar to Paraguay and Bolivia, okay? These could be wealthy countries. They do have copper. We saw how in Chile, copper has really helped out there, and they were able to transition to become full democracies. However, okay, the leader of Zimbabwe, okay, he actually recently died a couple years ago. He'd been in charge since the 70s, okay, so they're having problems. And the other thing, too, is that, again, Zambia, same situation. They have all these copper deposits. They could become like Chile despite them being landlocked. But again, okay, they're not taking advantage of the resources, okay, when compared, okay, to Chile. But again, being landlocked too does not help these countries out in the least. So for East Africa, again, here are the countries. I do want to mention briefly about the, excuse me, the Rwanda genocide. You had 3 groups here. You had the Tutsis, the Hutus, and the Twas. But the 2 groups that fought one another were the Tutsis, who were pastoral farmers, and the Hutus, which were subsistence farmers, okay? So what happened here? Well, a lot of people say that, hey, could there be, there needs to be something done, about this, did the Belgians actually cause the 2 groups to hate one another? That's part of it. However, the Hutus and the Tutsis have actually never liked each other, okay? You have to remember, okay? Remember we talked about tribalism? The Hutus are cattle farmers, and the Hutus are subsistence farmers. They've never liked one another, okay? There's actually even primary documents showing that they have never liked one another. This goes back thousands of years. This is an example of tribalism. However, the Belgians, though, favored the Tutsis over the Hutus. So again, you can see where that creates some tensions there. And then after Black Hawk Down, this occurred in the mid-90s, you had it in the summer there where the, pretty much the Tutsis were murdered by the Hutus, okay? So again, what happened is that, there was a Hutu president, okay? His plane crashed, okay? But the Hutus assumed that was Tutsi terrorists. So what they did was they attacked anybody who was, okay, a Tutsi, and even people that were sympathetic to the Tutsis as well, too. If you've seen the movie Hotel Rwanda, that is very accurate. and we did not get involved. Now, you're probably thinking, well, how come the United States didn't get involved? How come we didn't send, like, military aid to them? It's because of Black Hawk Down, okay? Black Hawk Down happened, and there was a lot of hesitation to get involved in there, okay? So, you know, we pretty much showed outrage, but again, very hesitant to get involved, unfortunately. Okay, I'm just going to skip these slides here because, again, it has nothing to, do with we're going in. But I do want to briefly talk about Idi Amin. Idi Amin was a very brutal dictator. He actually killed people just for his own enjoyment. He was a uniting force in Uganda, but again, you know, an evil uniting force, okay? And Uganda was the headquarters at the time for all British, colonies there. Again, mainly because it was equal distant with other ones, okay? So again, Idi Amin was very brutal, and again, that goes legacy of, the tribal boundaries, okay? So again, I'm going to skip this. Now, I do want to talk about the Congo here, or former Zaire, as it was called for a long time. King Leopold II here, okay, this was his own little empire. It wasn't officially a Belgian colony, okay, until a lot of people tell him to, no longer have control of it. He wanted it because he wanted the resources. You can clearly see that, again, there's a lot of resources there, okay, within the Congo. So that's what he did it, okay? But what happened is if people didn't succumb to what he said, okay, he went and massacred the whole villages, okay? He wanted it for himself. He didn't want it for Belgium as a whole, okay? But what's interesting is that, even after Belgium took over and the mass killing stopped, okay, because again, he was condemned very heavily in Belgium, during the time there, there was always going to be a resource war, okay? Countries right here are going to fight over control of it. Because think about it. When you have control of specific resources, it's going to benefit your country as a whole. So again, that's what happened there within, Zaire. So again, here are the West African countries. I do want to focus on Nigeria in particular because there are centrifugal forces within it. And then the question is, could this become an economic superpower, okay? I do want to show you this map right here. Clearly you can see there are oil fields here, and there's a lot of pipelines here throughout Nigeria. Okay, there's no denying that. Okay, Nigeria also, too, is one of the higher economic communities and is a member of OPEC, and China is one of its biggest trading partners. Okay, now, oil is big here. However, can Nigeria be united? Okay, I want you to look at part 1 here of the question. What are centrifugal forces that will prevent unity within Nigeria? Language differences and religion. Look here at the languages other than English spoken here within Nigeria. Look at that. Also, for the part 1, look at the map right here. What do you see? Like, what does this mean right here when you see those differences, okay? Look at the legend there. Okay? And then again, for part 2, okay, I want you to think about just 2 factors. Notice it says 3, but just 2, okay? So just ignore here. We're just going to put 2. I want you to come up with 2 factors whether you think Nigeria can be a world economic power, okay? You may look it up online, but I want you to really think about, could Nigeria be a world economic power? Okay, so pause the video here and go ahead and answer the question. Okay, welcome back. Again, I did want to mention that Liberia, of course, was founded by freed American slaves. That's the biggest reason why it was, not colonized, okay? So make sure that you do understand that. But what's interesting is that the people that immigrated from the United States, okay, to Liberia actually, forced a lot of the natives to assimilate to their culture, okay? So again, it's interesting how you see the Liberian flag. It's actually very similar to our flag. Again, it's the legacy there being descendants of slaves from the United States. For the Horn of Africa, I just want to briefly talk about Ethiopia and Somalia. Ethiopia, again, was a temporary colony of Italy. This was during World War II. So what happened is that Mussolini actually, sent in his air force. At the time, the Italians had a good air force, and they were able to stop the guerrilla warfare, because that's what the Ethiopians did. They practiced guerrilla warfare, and they were trying to, snuff out the Italian army. But they had a better air force, and that's how Italy was able to temporarily take over Ethiopia. And what's very interesting is before the official surrender of Germany and Japan in 1945, they actually, Italy did surrender to Ethiopia there in 1944. So it's pretty interesting. Okay, so before the video ends, I just want to briefly now go over Somalia. What's interesting is that northern Somalia is actually peaceful. It was actually colonized by the British, but southern Somalia, okay, was colonized by the Italians, and this is the area where you have problems with the warlords and even pirates there throughout Somalia. Okay, again, I've seen the movie Captain Phillips and Black Hawk Down. It's related mainly to southern, because again, you have a lot of warlord factions here within Somalia, okay? In this map, you can clearly see it again. It has declared independence, Somaliland. It was a former British colony. However, okay, this is the big however, it is not recognized by the UN nor other countries, okay? And then again, there are pirates as well within Somalia. You've probably seen this again from the movie Captain Phillips starring Tom Hanks, okay? So again, you should have everything you now need for Sub-Saharan Africa, including the short answer questions and, of course, the other questions. Again, if you have any questions for me, just let me know, okay? And again, I'll answer them quickly, okay? So this is signing off. And again, just be sure to turn everything in on the due dates and, of course, complete the exam.